Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our English podcast. I'm Ella, and I'm so happy you're here with us today. In this episode, Eric and I are going to talk about a very important topic for English learners: how to think in English. This is something that many of you might find difficult. Maybe you understand English when you read or listen, but you still think in your native language. That's okay. Today, we'll give you simple tips on how to train your brain to think directly in English. It may feel hard at first, but with practice, you can do it. Hey, Eric. How are you feeling today?
Hi, Ella. I'm feeling great, thanks. I'm really excited about today's topic because thinking in English is a game changer for learners. It's one of those things that can help people become more fluent and confident when speaking.
Absolutely. When you stop translating in your head and start thinking directly in English, everything becomes easier. You can respond faster, your sentences flow better, and you start feeling more natural when speaking.
Yeah, and the best part is it doesn't matter what level you are. Even if you're a beginner, you can start training your brain to think in English with small steps. It's like building a muscle, slow and steady.
Exactly. So today we're going to share some practical tips on how to do that. And don't worry, we'll keep it simple and easy to follow. Let's start with the basics. Why do people find it difficult to think in English?
One reason is that most learners have been taught to translate from their native language. When you're learning English, especially in the beginning, it's natural to rely on translation. But the more you do that, the more your brain stays in translation mode, and that slows you down when you want to speak.
Right. And another reason is that people don't expose themselves enough to English in everyday situations. If you only use English in a classroom or when studying, your brain isn't used to thinking in English all the time. That's why it's important to make English a part of your daily life, even if it's just in small ways.
That's a great point, Ella. A good first step is to start thinking about simple things in English. For example, when you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking, "I need to get out of bed" in your native language, try saying it in English. "I need to get out of bed." Just that small change can make a big difference.
Yes, and you can do this throughout your day. When you're having breakfast, think in English, "I'm eating cereal" or "I'm drinking coffee." These little thoughts help train your brain to use English more often. It's like practice that happens naturally without you even noticing.
Another simple trick is labeling things around you in English. If you're at home, look at the objects and say their names in English, like table, chair, or window. It sounds easy, but it really helps because you're surrounding yourself with English.
Exactly. And speaking of simple things, you can also try talking to yourself in English. I know it sounds funny, but it's really helpful. For example, if you're walking outside, try saying, "I see a blue sky," or "There's a red car." You don't need anyone else to practice with. You can be your own practice partner.
Haha, that's a great idea, Ella. And if you feel shy, you can do it in your head. The goal is to get used to thinking in English, even if it's just for everyday simple things.
Yes, and let's add something else to that. You can also try thinking in English when you make decisions. Let's say you're trying to decide what to have for lunch. Instead of asking yourself in your native language, ask yourself in English, "Should I have a sandwich or a salad?" It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference.
That's a really smart idea, Ella. It's also a fun way to practice, and for those who enjoy writing, try keeping a daily journal in English. Even if you only write a few sentences each day, it helps your brain get used to thinking in English. You could write about your day, what you did, or how you feel.
Absolutely. Journaling is a great way to organize your thoughts in English. It doesn't have to be perfect. Even short sentences like, "Today I went to the park," or "I feel happy because I saw my friend," can help you start thinking in English naturally. And don't worry about grammar too much at first. The goal is to think in English, not to be perfect.
Exactly. I also recommend learners describe things around them in English. It's a simple exercise. For example, if you see a dog, instead of just saying "dog," try describing it. You could say, "The dog is small and white," or "The dog is playing with a ball." Describing things helps you build sentences in your mind, and the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
Yes. And speaking of building sentences, another great practice is repeating what you hear when you watch TV shows or listen to podcasts. Pause after a sentence and try saying it yourself. It doesn't have to be long or complicated. Just repeating natural expressions can help you start thinking in English like native speakers do.
That's a fantastic idea. And for beginners, it's important to focus on understanding the overall meaning when watching something in English. Don't worry about every single word. Instead, try to get the general idea. This way, your brain gets used to processing English without constantly translating.
Exactly. And don't be afraid of making mistakes. Many learners hesitate because they don't want to say something wrong. But remember, mistakes are part of the process. The more you practice, the better you'll get. You learn from mistakes.
That's right, Ella. Making mistakes is a sign that you're trying. The important thing is to keep going and not give up. It's all about progress, not perfection.
Yes, here's another idea. Try talking to people in English as much as possible. It could be a friend, a teacher, or even someone online. The more you practice speaking, the more your brain gets used to thinking in English. And if you don't have anyone to talk to, you can use language apps or chat with a language partner.
That's a good point, Ella. There are so many tools now to help learners practice speaking. Language exchange apps, for example, let you talk to native English speakers from all around the world. And don't worry about making your sentences perfect. The more you talk, the more comfortable you'll get.
Another tip I love is surrounding yourself with English. Listen to English music, watch English TV shows, and read simple books or articles. Even if you don't understand every word, your brain will start picking up patterns. Over time, you'll start thinking in English without even realizing it.
Yes, and for those who love movies or TV shows, try watching with English subtitles. This way you can read and listen at the same time. It's a great way to reinforce what you hear and see.
Definitely. And one last thing I'd like to add is to be patient with yourself. Thinking in English takes time, but every small step you take helps. You won't switch from thinking in your native language to English overnight, but with practice, you'll get there. Just keep going.
That's a great reminder, Ella. It's all about building habits, and the more consistent you are, the easier it will become. Think of it like learning to ride a bike. It might feel hard at first, but soon it becomes natural.
Exactly. So to recap, here are a few key tips to help you start thinking in English. First, practice thinking about simple things in English throughout your day. Second, label objects around you and describe what you see. Third, try talking to yourself or writing a journal in English. And finally, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just keep practicing.
And most importantly, have fun with it. Learning a language should be an enjoyable experience, so don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just take it step by step.
That's right. Thanks for joining us today to talk about how to think in English. We hope these tips help you on your journey to becoming more fluent.
Yes, we're sure they will. And remember, you can always come back and listen to this episode again if you need a reminder.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back soon with more tips and conversations to help you improve your English.
Until next time, keep practicing and don't give up.